Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm here to give you guys my review for Fear the Walking Dead Season 4, Episode 15. And this episode was called I Lose People. Now, I actually kind of liked the title. I thought it was very clever because obviously this referenced the interview that Morgan had with Althea in the season premiere of this season. When he was, yeah, like I said, when he was having his interview and he had that whole quote when he said, I lose people and then I lose myself. Because the season finale is called I Lose Myself. So I kind of like um, how obviously when we see the name of the episode, we're instantly supposed to think of Morgan. I thought it was pretty clever, and I liked it. But this episode came out on September 13th, 2018, and I'm going to get right into the review. Um, this episode was an alright episode. I will say I was a little bit disappointed with this episode because I thought there would have been so much more stuff that happened. Um, and I didn't really feel like that this episode really intrigued me all that much to watch the season finale. So because of that, I think this episode kind of fails in a way. But I'll talk about the episode a little bit more. So the episode opens up with back at the hospital roof, and um, pretty much Jim is still being an asshole, and you know wonders why Morgan just wandered on himself since they got um, Morgan got them into this mess. So June wants an answer on what Morgan think on a way that they can Morgan can get them off the roof. Morgan doesn't have an answer, so June wants to take over, and then we see um, Alicia with Charlie, and we see Strand obviously with John, and Strand and John see Alicia and Charlie, and this gives some hope for Strand because obviously um, he's learned something from John where because of this hope that he saw Alicia and Charlie again, um, they were overwhelmed with joy. So Alicia tries to radio over to them, and Morgan overhears this, and actually, no, June overhears this and responds back and reveals that they're in a predicament, but they don't want to give away the location because obviously they know Martha will come over and try to kill them. So Alicia and Charlie pretty much want to save Strand, um, John, and June, and Morgan and everybody else, and pretty much June wants to talk to John, but since John's on like the other side um, of the flood, um, they can't talk. And pretty much, um, this leaves the group with some hope that they can um, all get out of these predicaments. And then the episode actually kicks off. What ends up happening is I'm just while this episode had two separate storylines going on, I'm going to explain. Um, but then eventually they merge into one. I'll just explain kind of like the little side storyline they did because while it was very important, it didn't really take all that much time of the episode. So Alicia, and I did like the talk though that John and Strand had in this episode, where pretty much Strand was in John's role and John was in Strand's role from the episode from season 4, episode 13. I thought that was actually really clever, where John pretty much had no hope that they were going to get out of this predicament, and Strand now does, now that he's seen Alicia and um, now that they find a way to get off the island. I thought it was really cool. Um, and John even talks about how he used to be on an island, but it was June that got him off that island. I really liked that. And then Alicia and Charlie um, try to find a raft so that way they can cross the water, um, like just like John and Strand did. And then they get shot at by Martha, and Martha tries to tell them not to help them because it makes them weak. And we see that Martha is still clearly injured. We even saw that she was injured in the SWAT SWAT vehicle, and Alicia offers to help her, but Martha doesn't want help because it will make her weak, and she falls because she's just bleeding out, and um, Charlie and Alicia realize that's the same that's the same woman from the walkie-talkie, and then what ends up happening is Alicia and Charlie drive through the water and end up rescuing Strand and Charlie. And John was sorry, not Strand and Charlie, Strand and John. And John was happy to see um, that Charlie was finally talking again and finally in good spirits. And Strand and Alicia obviously were happy to see each other because they pretty much known each other since season 1 of this show. Um, and now, if you think about it too, I never really brought this up, but Alicia pretty much is the longest character to be in Fear the Walking Dead, which is actually pretty cool. And they pretty much find Martha, and then I'll get into more what happens later on in the review. I'm gonna review the rest of the episode. So pretty much, Jim knows that he's gonna die. So everybody else wants to go look for Thea, and Jim goes on top of the building, and we're supposed to think that he's just gonna walk off and kill himself. So Morgan tries to stop him, but Jim's really just being an asshole and pisses all over the walkers, which I thought was pretty funny. Um, and Morgan tries to tell him that there's other ways for him to go out. You can go out being a hero, or you can go out by being an asshole. And Jim doesn't really care because he knows that he's dying regardless of what he does. So Morgan doesn't really try to convince him anymore. Sarah comes up and wants his beer recipe, but pretty much Jim just throws it right back in her face. So they go to see if they can try to find Althea. They find it very strange that the infected slash walkers aren't all swarming around the elevator, but we find out that like the wall caved in and took out a ton of the walkers slash infected. So we find out that they go into the generator room, and Althea left a note because a walkie-talkie died and said that she was gonna go after her SWAT truck, and if she doesn't make it, they want them to take care of Martha. And they're gonna go over to the other elevator so that way they can try to find Althea. Which I hate in the next episode, by the way, they gave away that Althea was alive. They said next on Fear the Walking Dead, which I didn't really like that. Um, and yeah. Um, so Morgan's gonna let everybody else escape, and he's gonna cause some type of distraction. But everybody doesn't want to leave with Morgan, but Morgan wants them to leave. So what he ends up doing is he takes one of the walkers, and he offers for Jim to help him, but Jim still chooses not to. And he takes the walker and he throws it right into a car, and it just gets destroyed, and it causes the car alarm to go off. And the walkers get distracted by this, which allows everybody to escape. And Morgan says that he's not coming because he feels like he's doing this to make up um, for the past. And Morgan and Jim have a little speech where they talk where Jim pretty much says that you're all getting off easy, but you can't really just fully make up for the past. It's easier to die than than try to do everything you can to try to make up for the past. And I actually thought that was a hell of a speech. And I did like Morgan's role in this episode where he was sacrificing himself for the good of the group. It reminded me, obviously, of Alicia's mom doing this. Obviously in the mid-season finale, and I thought it was great. So then what ends up happening is John and June get in contact with each other, and they reveal their location because they can now because Martha's knocked out. And then when Martha comes to, Alicia reveals that they're taking Martha to the hospital so that way Morgan can help her because she would have just left her unconscious on the side of the road. And then Jim wants Morgan to kill him before he turned into a walker. And I did like too that Window before they left had said that he wanted to be the one to kill Jim before he became a window muncher. No, a skin muncher, which obviously was another term they used to call the zombies. I thought that was funny. So then we find out that everybody comes back. The whole cast, well, the whole main cast, anyways, makes their way back to Morgan, and I kind of liked this scene here because it did show that Morgan influenced them and helped all this group realize that helping people um, can be the right thing to do. And Morgan's obviously upset about this, and what ends up happening is we find out that they got a fire truck and they lift the ladder of the fire truck so that way Morgan can get onto it. But there were a couple of stories off, so Morgan uses a rope to bring himself down, and so that way he can get onto um, the next story. But then he gets attacked by by a walker, and it tackles him to the ground. And Morgan tries to kill it, but he's unable to do so. And John kills the Wanderer right before the Wanderer slash Walker kills Morgan. And Morgan jumps from one story all the way to the fire truck ladder, which I thought was awesome. And he gets lowered down, and pretty much Strand realizes that everybody's in a predicament, so they want to make a path. So they're just gonna kill all the walkers and slash infected slash skin bunches slash wanderers. But Jim decides to sacrifice himself um, to save everybody else because he chose his way to go out. And before he does, he gives Sarah the beer recipe, which I actually thought what was going to happen was, um, even though it wouldn't have made sense, that Martha was going to kill him right before he gave the recipe and they were still going to be in trouble. But no, that's not what happens. He gets to give the whole recipe and he jumps off the helicopter right into a car and kills himself, which obviously made sense for him to do that because he was going to die regardless. And he got to go out in a heroic way. And everybody leaves and they're trying to think about what they're going to name Jim's new beer. And they decide to name it, and I have to make sure. Um, and we also find out that Malta escaped due to all the chaos. Um, but they pretty much name Jim's beer. I believe it's called Jimbo's Mimbos or something like that. I don't remember the name of the beer. You could probably look it up, but I don't exactly remember what it is. And everybody kind of is unsure what to do next. So um, Morgan suggests that they finally go to Virginia, so everybody agrees to go to Virginia. And the last thing we see is that Martha um, is writing on Jim's face as he reanimates, and when he animates, she, um, you know, takes him hostage and reveals that she's going after Morgan. And that was the end of the episode. And that was pretty much the this episode of Fear the Walking Dead. I thought it was an alright episode. I might have liked this episode better, but I just thought it was alright. I think I was expecting a little bit more, just because this was setting up the season finale, and I thought they were going to do something really awesome, but they didn't. Um, and I just thought some of that this episode kind of dragged in some places. It just kind of felt like it was going on forever, and um, yeah, I just thought it was an alright episode. It didn't really intrigue me or anything, but I thought it was alright. If I had to give it a rating, I'll be generous and give it a C plus. But it's not quite a B minus. I thought it was an alright episode, and that's pretty much this review. As for what everybody else thought of this episode, the people on IMDb gave it a um, 7.8 out of 10, so they rated it about the same quality I did. And you had people that liked this episode because of Morgan's character development, which I liked it for that reason as well. And they liked it for Jim sacrificing himself and seeing the whole group work together, which I liked it for those reasons. Um, and then um, people also but that's the people on IMDb. The people on Rotten Tomatoes, it got a 50%, which isn't that good. So the critics didn't like this episode. I do kind of find it funny that some of the episodes that the fans like more and the critics like more, like it seems like the critics and the fans when it comes to this show can't ever agree um, on what they think are good episodes and bad episodes. But it gets a 50%. It got an average rated of 6.67 out of 10, which is like a D overall. It got 8 reviews and it got 4 fresh tomatoes and 4 rotten. So it pretty much, um, which makes sense, because it got a 50% rating. And that's pretty much what everybody else thought of it. And that's pretty much the end of this video. Now I only have one more episode to watch, and then I'm finally done with this show. So I'm pretty excited about that. Mainly because I want to. I liked this series, but I'm kind of ready to be done with it. But I'll talk about that in the next review. Um, and that's pretty much the end of this video. Please make sure you guys like, comment, and share this video so people will watch it. Make sure you guys subscribe to this channel for more content and click on the bell so that way every time I upload a video, you guys will get the notifications for it. Make sure you guys do the same thing for my CM Brothers YouTube channel because I'm probably going to upload a video on there tomorrow. And that's pretty much it, guys. Talk to you later.